guys, Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer. We talk about music, books, and occasionally other things. And today, in honor of March Madness, I'm going to be filling out a March Madness bracket that I created. This is Music Reviewer Madness. So, basically, this is just going to be a whole bunch of music reviewers faced off against each other. Including me, although, spoiler alert, I'm not ranking myself. So that means whoever's up against me is gonna advance to at least one round. However, I will say this. I forgot to add Spectrum Pulse, 'cause I'm an idiot. So, keep that in mind while I'm going through this. Other than that, I think I've covered just about everyone. Let's get started. Okay then, our first match we have David Rowe versus Buffalo Staple. Now this is already going to be a hard one, because on one hand, David Rowe is the guy who helped me get into trap rap. He was the one who made me open-minded about it. His review of Whole Lotta Red by Playboi Carti is incredible. However, Buffalo Staple is one of my followers on Twitter, and we're sort of friends, I guess. He's just a nice, cool guy, and I even reviewed the album he released under the name Veilsmith back last year. His music is actually great, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to snub him and go with David Rowe in this instance. Why? Because he's just had more of a personal impact on me. Up next we have Brad Taste in Music versus Sean C. Now, these guys are both reaction channels, and while I do like both of them, Brad Taste in Music is a little bit better for me, just because he has more variety, and his reactions are a little more entertaining, thanks to amazing editing from him. So yeah, Brad Taste in Music is gonna advance to this round. Up next we have The Wonky Angle versus Rap Critic. Now, Rap Critic is one of the guys who got me into the reviewing community, so there is a personal connection there. And he is hilarious, I'll say that for him. But The Wonky Angle, I got into more recently, but he's just so intelligent, and he's introduced me to some great electronic music. So I'm kinda torn on this one, but since I tend to prefer an intelligent reviewer over a funny one, I think I'm gonna go with The Wonky Angle, albeit barely. Up next, we have Mike Seatown versus Tastes Like Music. Now, some of you guys may not have heard of Tastes Like Music, but they do, discography rankings every couple weeks of a certain band or artist, mostly classic rock, but occasionally other things. And there's 3 of them, so it's like 3 people doing a ranking at once, and I love that. And they also do deep dives into certain years where each member of the group will count down their top 25 albums of a certain year. But Mike Seatown is also great, and he's shown me so much great black metal through his Records and Ramblings series, and he does great reviews on his Out of My Element. Oh, and his work with Dead and Hip Hop is also great, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to give it to Tastes Like Music, just because I'm a sucker for more than one person reviewing. Up next we have The Needle Drop versus Todd in the Shadows. Now, Todd in the Shadows is actually the first reviewer I ever discovered, if you don't count Buckley. And he is hilarious, and he's gotten way more insightful in recent years, which I approve of. And the Needle Drop, though, that guy is just so intelligent, and he's actually the first reviewer basically ever on YouTube. And he has the most subscribers out of anyone, and he's shown me some pretty great stuff too, and I like that he's open to a bunch of different genres. So, yeah, as much as I love Todd, I don't watch him as much as I used to. Mainly because I was awful when I first got into him. I was one of those annoying people who just thought anything mainstream was bad and always laughed when he tore apart a bad pop song. So, yeah, Todd in the Shadows is kind of hard for me to watch regularly at this point because of that, so the Needle Drop. Anyway, up next we have ARTV versus Mike the Snare. Now, I know everyone in the reviewing community hates ARTV, but I've never understood the hate, honestly. Like, what, is it just because he likes pop punk? Like, come on, get over yourselves. Mike the Snare is great too, though. He does deep discog dives, which are very insightful, and also teaches you a whole lot about the band. But ARTV, he's the guy who made me an emo kid, for better or worse. So, and I've also been watching him a lot longer, so I think I'm gonna go with ARTV. No offense to Mike the Snare. Up next we have JAS Reviews versus Scratch a Track. Now these are two underground ones, with JAS Reviews being another guy who's kind of a fan of like emo and pop punk type stuff. Although he does branch out slightly more than ARTV. And Scratch a Track. They are two guys who review a good variety of genres, but they're like big fans of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and they do this series where they're like, if we had to get rid of one song from this album, which one would it be? So that's an interesting series. I think I'm gonna go with Scratch a Track for this one. Up next we have Liam the Music Reviewer versus Rebellious Reviewer. And since I'm not ranking myself, I'm going with Liam. Oh, and by the way, even if I was ranking myself, I'd still probably pick Liam, just because I am not on Liam's level, at least not yet. Maybe someday. Up next we have The Sound Binge versus Not Real Music. These two are both great. The Sound Binge has all these poetic metaphors she uses when describing things, which fits with all the abstract electronic stuff she likes to review. And Not Real Music, he's just so hardworking. He's always putting out content, and I really love his series about rankings, albums from artists, and his top 10 songs series, and especially his Essentials series, where he gives 5 essential albums from a certain genre. In fact, I'm gonna go with Not Real Music. Sorry, Sound Binge. Up next we have a couple more lesser-known ones. Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex versus Alpha 27. Now, these two are both interesting. Every Album Ever is basically a podcast where two guys named Mike and Alex review every album, including sometimes EPs and compilations, from a certain band or artist, and they do one per episode. I don't always agree with their takes on a certain band, but man, they can do some pretty cool deep dives. However, Alpha 27, he just covers so many interesting genres, including so many that no other reviewers cover. Like, he's a big fan of noise music, which is not a genre you hear a lot about in the reviewing community because it's so niche. That said, I'm not a big fan of his delivery. It's a little flat. So I think I'm gonna go with Every Album Ever, just because, hey, it's more than one guy doing the reviewing, which, you know I'm a sucker for that. Up next, we have Crash Thompson versus Deep Cuts. These two guys are both awesome. Crash is hilarious. He does some pretty good rock reviews and sometimes other things as well. He has pretty good taste, I think. And Deep Cuts, though, he does a whole series called Genre Guides, where it's kind of like Not Real Music's Essential series, except older. And it's just like 5 albums to get into, blah blah blah. He also does a series where he does like a deep dive on certain artists. I just got done watching the one he did on Miles Davis. That was awesome. He's also the guy who got me into jazz, so I think I'm gonna go with Deep Cuts. Sorry, Crash. Up next, we have Jams and Tea versus Dead End Hip Hop. Now, these are two kind of longer video guys who have multiple people reviewing stuff. And I love them both, but I think I'm gonna go with Jams and Tea just because they cover more genres and are a little more insightful. Up next, we have DK Media Music versus Rocked. Now, this one really isn't a fair fight looking back at it, because DK Media Music is kind of an underground guy. He talks about mostly classic rock, though he does branch out, and he does a pretty cool series where he has his viewers suggest albums for him to listen to, and then he ranks all of the albums they suggested. So that's awesome. But he's paired up against Rocked, who is the guy responsible for Rock Coliseum and all sorts of cool top 10 lists. And also the Regretting the Past series, of course. So yeah, the guy's great. I think I'm gonna go with Rocked, even though that's totally unfair to DK Media Music. Up next, we have Matt O'Leary versus Sea of Tranquility. Now, these are two prog reviewers. Like, Matt O'Leary, he reviews prog rock, alternative rock, stuff like that. Sea of Tranquility is a mix of prog and metal and classic rock type stuff. And they're both pretty cool. Although I will say I like Sea of Tranquility better just because, well, I've been watching him longer, 1. And 2, he does more rankings, and I'm a sucker for rankings. Up next, we have Notes Reviews versus Eric the Young God. Now, these are two guys I just got into somewhat recently. Eric the Young God, he has pretty good taste in hip-hop, I think. Although, he likes R&B a bit too much for my liking. And he's a bit too, shall we say, goofy for my liking. Yes, this is coming from someone who likes the Rap Critic. Like, he isn't trying super hard to be funny, but I don't really like his sense of humor, is what I'm trying to say. Notes Reviews, though. He's a prog reviewer, like, exclusively reviews progressive rock. And he introduced me to some pretty cool stuff. And he's also very intelligent, as you would expect from a guy who likes that stuff. So I'm going to go with him. Now what we have and the last one for the first round, we have two hip-hop reviewers. Big Quint versus CDTV Productions. Big Quint, I have a similar problem as Eric the Young God. He gets way too enthusiastic, which for a reaction channel is good, but I kind of find him annoying. CDTV Productions, on the other hand, I know some people find him annoying, but I love his poorly aged rap lyrics series. And his reactions are pretty cool, too. So, CDTV. And that is the end of the first round. Let's go with the second one. David Rowe versus Brad Taste in Music. Oh my god. I respect the hell out of Brad Taste in Music. He has so much great editing, and he's so funny. But David Rowe has had more of a personal impact, so I'm gonna go with him. The Wonky Angle versus Taste Like Music. Okay. I like Taste Like Music better just because, well, I'm more of a rock fan than an electronic fan, and also because, again, multiple people reviewing. And now we have the Needle Drop versus ARTV. These guys are both great. Yeah, controversial take there. And if I wanted to appeal to the masses, I would go with the Needle Drop, because he was the first reviewer, and he reviews more genres than ARTV, and most like him better, but I've been watching ARTV for longer, and I love pop punk, so I hate to do this, but ARTV. Also, he's a bit more creative, I'm just gonna say it. Like, his 7 on Sunday series is really cool, and I don't think he does this series anymore, but for a while he did a series called Common Ground, where he looked at 5 songs that have the same word in the title, and tried to figure out the common ground between them. And let's not forget his A Song for Every Day of the Week and A Song for Every Month series. Yeah. Well, actually, it was just one video for each of those, but you get my point. The guy is creative. Up next, we have Scratch a Track versus Liam the Music Reviewer. I like both of these about equally, so this is actually a tough one. But I think I'm going to go with... I don't even know. Let me think about this. Scratch a Track are such underdogs here, and I kind of want to go with them just on that, but I think I'm going to go with Liam just because he's a big fan of emo music, and you know I love my emo music. And I also love the fact that he did a series for a while that was like 5 important songs about blah blah blah. I wish he would upload a little more frequently is my one complaint with him. So, still going with Liam. Up next we have Not Real Music versus Every Album Ever. Oh no, these are 2 of my favorites. Great. Now I'm gonna have to pick between 2 of my favorites. And let me think about this. Not Real Music. He does all sorts of cool videos, and he uploads super frequently. Screw it, I'm going with Not Real Music, but only because some of the takes that Every Album Ever comes up with, like not liking the Cramps or the Cocteau Twins, no. Anyway, Deep Cuts versus Jams and Tea. Well, this is a no-brainer. Deep Cuts, because I love jams and tea, but Deep Cuts is just so intelligent. Like, I could see him writing a book one day and going beyond our little YouTube platform. Up next, we have Rocked versus Sea of Tranquility. I'm gonna go with Rocked just because he covers more genres and because I've been watching him for longer. Up next, we have Notes Reviews versus CDTV Productions. CDTV just because I'm still kind of new to Notes Reviews. And now, we have David Rowe versus Tastes Like Music. We're in the Elite Eight here, and we're starting with that one. And oh my god, this is getting hard. I think I'm going to go with, I don't even know. David Rowe is just so, he's gotten me into so much, but Tastes Like Music is like, it's 3 people doing classic rock reviews. That's right in my comfort zone. But I think I'm just gonna, I'm sorry, David, but I'm going with Tastes Like Music. Now we have ARTV versus Liam the Music Reviewer. And I hate to do this to you, Liam, but ARTV just because I've been watching him longer and he uploads more frequently, and yeah. Now we have Not Real Music versus Deep Cuts, and this one also hurts, but I'm going with Deep Cuts, even though it's kind of the battle of the 2 people who do 5 albums to get you into genre, insert genre here series. But Deep Cuts did it first. Now we have Rocked versus CDTV Productions, and oh my god, this one hurts too! But CDTV is just comfort food for me, so I'm gonna go with CDTV. Tastes Like Music versus ARTV. Oh goody. I think I'm gonna go with Tastes Like Music, though, because, again, 3 people reviewing at once, and I like long videos, and they have plenty of long videos there. Deep Cuts versus CDTV Productions. Deep Cuts. And finally, it comes down to the wire. Tastes Like Music versus Deep Cuts. I don't know who I'm going for here, but let me think. Deep Cuts, actually. Because while I love Tastes Like Music, Deep Cuts could probably write a book someday. And he's so intelligent, and he knows so much about music, including all these obscure genres. He's one of the few people who's talked about power electronics, which is a subgenre of noise. So, yeah, the guy has great taste. I kind of wish he would upload a little more frequently, but when he does, it's incredible. So, yeah, Deep Cuts is the winner of this year's Music Reviewer Madness bracket. And that's my March Madness bracket. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer, and I'm out.